Hello, everyone. This is Arateric, and today we're going to talk about the House of Dragon. So, now that A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is over with, I am really looking forward to our next A Song of Ice and Fire series on HBO. It's coming out, and that would be House of the Dragon Season 3. The Justified Ancients of Ashai channel did not exist when this show originally came out, and I figured I would do is rewatch season one and give a general review of what happened and my initial thoughts of the series. So that way, by the time season three starts, I'm all refreshed in my mind about what happened. So overall, I can just give you my thoughts about House of the Dragon. I really like the show. I see it as very similar to Game of Thrones in that you are looking at palace intrigues. You had, five different kings. And then, of course, you have the ultimate king and the Night King. You were looking at each court and the intricacies of what they were trying to do to get the Iron Throne. So we begin with King Viserys, first of his name, on the Iron Throne. And there's no doubt that they're at the height of their power. And that means there's dragons. There's lots and lots of dragons. We know that the series of House of the Dragon is based on George R.R. Martin's book, Fire and Blood, which chronicles the Dance of the Dragons, which is the civil war between the Blacks and the Greens. So season one is basically setting up the breakdown of the Targaryen house into two different segments. The events of House of the Dragon are occurring about 150 years prior to the Game of Thrones series. So when Aegon II was on the throne, he did not have male heirs. So this caused a council to be formed to determine, who would inherit the crown. He did have a daughter, Rhaenys, who many people backed for the crown. And there also was a male heir that I believe was the cousin of Rhaenys. So it was the king's brother's son. They wind up going for the male heir, which would be Viserys I. And this kind of set up the tone that the kingdoms would not accept a female as their ruler. So that sets up the main issue of House of the Dragon is who will inherit the throne after King Viserys passes away. The show starts off with Prince Daemon, King Viserys' brother, being heir to the throne. Viserys' wife, Emma, is with child. However, she passes away during childbirth, and her son dies shortly after. This should leave Daemon remaining the heir. However, there is a rift that forms between Daemon and Viserys because Daemon is caught out late at night at a pub, and his friends are celebrating the death of the newborn prince because this means that Daemon will still be heir. King Viserys gets wind of this, and he basically disowns Daemon until it becomes problematic when King Viserys has children with Queen Alicent. She has two sons, Aegon and Aemon, in the show with King Viserys. Now, so a great portion of the lords were thinking that King Viserys was going to name Aegon the heir on his second birthday. However, King Viserys did not do this and always stood behind his daughter. The push to initially put Aegon on the throne was by Queen Alicent's father, Otto Hightower. If Rhaenyra comes to power, that she will eliminate any contenders to her throne, essentially telling Alicent that all of her children will be slain by Rhaenyra, and that is inevitable. Because she initially was best friends with Rhaenyra, and she knew Rhaenyra well and just didn't think that would be something that she would do. However, over time, Alicent and Rhaenyra's relationship decayed. And as the relationship decayed, Alicent had more and more negative feelings towards Rhaenyra, and these feelings just grew stronger over time. So what happened? Why was there a rift between Alicent and Rhaenyra? Well, there was a few events, in particular over season one, that highlighted how this rift formed. First of all, a rift formed between the two because Alicent married Rhaenyra's father. Now, Alicent was Rhaenyra's best friend, and when her mother died, Alicent married her father 3 months after the death of Rhaenyra's mother. So she felt betrayed by her best friend. That and because she didn't know that this was happening. A second thing that caused the rift between them was Queen Alicent's jealousy. Rhaenyra shuns her duties. Rhaenyra's life. See, Queen Alicent she viewed herself as always doing what her duty is. And she, she was faithful to the king the whole entire time that he was alive. And I don't think she wanted to marry him per se, but it's something that her father arranged and she did her duty. She did everything she was asked to do, and she was the good daughter, and then she became the good wife and the pious queen. Rhaenyra, when they have a party, she doesn't show. She doesn't want to get married. She says she'll never get married. And the biggest thing is that she was fooling around outside of marriage. There were rumors that, Rhaenyra had sex with her uncle Daemon in a pleasure house. And Rhaenyra denied this. However, Rhaenyra did have relationships with Christian Cole. This was the final straw in Alicent's love for Rhaenyra. She, from here on out, thought she was a liar and couldn't be trusted and wasn't a woman who adhered to her duties. Alicent, before this time, was always wearing Targaryen colors of red and black. And from here on out, she decides that, she's going to look out for herself. And she wears the Hightower color of green. Rhaenyra not only had relationships with Daemon Cole, but she also had, after she was married, she had a relationship with Harland Hightower, in which it is believed that she had 3 sons. See that Alicent strongly believes this. The moment that Rhaenyra gives birth, Queen Alicent demands to see the child and she wants to know what the child looks like. And the accusation that that Princess Rhaenyra has bastard sons is the third and final straw in their relationship. And it culminates with both their sons getting in an argument with each other. And during this time, he called them a bastard. Now, they've been called bastards by Aegon and Aemond many, many times. So Aegon and Aemond are Alicent's children. But this time, when they called them that, they got into a fight. And this fight got pretty bloody, and it ended with Viserys taking a dagger to the eye of Aemon, causing him to lose his eye. So when Alicent found out about this, she demanded the eye of Viserys. And Rhaenyra was really shocked because she's and her father Viserys was on her side. He just thought that Alicent's clear hatred went into hurting children. And when the king refused to take Viserys' eye, Alicent grabbed the dagger and tried to take it out herself. And with that, and Rhaenyra blocked that and wound up getting cut. Viserys falls quite sick, and Alicent and her father pretty much take over ruling the kingdom. So clearly the main rumor that Rhaenyra's children are not legitimate is what the Greens are using to push forward Alicent's son, Aegon, to be next to be the heir to the Iron Throne. All comes to a head when the Sneesake, this gets wounded severely in battle. The Valerian family, is afraid that he might pass away, and would the Lord of the Tides fall to? Well, it should go to the firstborn son of the Sneesake, but he was murdered many years ago. And fun fact, parents, Rhaenys and Corlys, believe that Rhaenyra actually had him killed in order to marry Prince Daemon. Since his son Leonor died, the next heir to the Lord of the Tides would be Lucerys. Even though there was speculation and a rift, the sea snake was okay still with Lucerius taking it because he wanted the name, he wanted the houses of Targaryen to merge with his so that his name would be remembered and his house would be remembered forever. And the sea snake always wanted more power for his house. So he backed what would bring his house more power. However, with him seemingly out of the picture, his brother Vaemond now steps up and wants to be heir to the Lord of Tides. He must get the king to officially declare Lucerys as a bastard so that he can inherit the title. Also, at the moment, Rhaenys has been acting kind of as Lord of the Tides because her husband has been away. So she's been for like several years handling the business of House Valerian. So she might be eyeing the position herself if if her husband passes away, she might be eyeing the position for herself, especially because Lucerys is so young that she would kind of be a reagent for a while. So now, what would make Vaemond think he could get away with this? Because King Viserys, it will never say one of his grandchildren are bastards. As I said, the Greens now are in power. Because Viserys is so sick, they have been sitting the Iron Throne and making the day-to-day rulings. So they plan that Vaemond would come to them, claim that Lucerys is illegitimate as an heir, and that Otto Hightower or Alicent, whoever's sitting on the throne, would agree that he is a bastard, and therefore that would also mean his brother, because the whole claim is first three sons are illegitimate. The brother, Jacaerys, would also be claimed a bastard, and therefore he could not inherit. He could not inherit the Iron Throne, and this would help strengthen their claim that her son Aemon should be heir to the throne. So, however, Nera heard wind of this. She rushes to King's Landing to find her father in a drugged up, comatose state. She gets him to wean himself off of the milk of the poppy long enough to go in and actually sit the throne the day the hearing is to occur. Here's that claim by Vaemond, and well, Vaemond winds up being beheaded for treason for making the accusation. So who should inherit the Lord of the Tides? Well, that will be Lucerys, Rhaenyra's second-born son. And the king once again clarifies to everybody that Rhaenyra, his daughter, Princess Rhaenyra, is to be the heir, and her son. It just so happens that same day they held court, Viserys passes away. And it seems it should be clear about who the heir is, but when Viserys was in his last moments, he was babbling about Aegon's dream, and this is the dream of a great cold coming from the north, and how Aegon thought that he needed to unite the kingdom and keep it strong so that when the time came, they can fight this great evil coming. But Alicent took this as him saying, since her son's name was Aegon, that Aegon, he was talking about how her son Aegon would be king and unite the world and keep the kingdoms united and strong. So therefore, she goes and she calls the small council and she tells them that she wants Aegon, that Viserys on his deathbed said that he wanted Aegon to rule. So the small council puts in a plan of action to crown Aegon as soon as possible. And it's interesting here because Otto Hightower suggests that they send a group to Dragonstone to assassinate Rhaenyra and her sons. Alicent is appalled by this. She believes that there could be a way out. She believes that there's a possibility Rhaenyra might bend the knee, and that there would be no need to kill her or her whole entire family. And now everybody thinks that Alicent just has a soft spot for her old friend. ultimately they decide, okay, first we'll do that. We'll offer her to, bend the knee and we'll see what happens. So they crown Aegon, and Rhaenys happens to still be in the Red Keep, and she flies out on her dragon to Dragonstone and lets Rhaenyra know that her father died and that Aegon has been crowned king in front of everybody and all the masses. And so they send an envoy over to Rhaenyra, and and Rhaenyra says that she would have to think about it. And she's thinking about it because she would rather there be peace than a war. And she knows about Aegon's dream, and she knows it's more than about herself and her own power, that there's something bigger here. And she knows that a civil war would um, inhibit the chance because they need to be united to fight the great evil. And so she's actually considering just bending the knee. They said she could still keep Dragonstone and her kids can still inherit Dragonstone, and that they would be left alone. And she was really contemplating it. However, she's prudent. So she decided that she would see what houses would support her. And she sends her oldest son to the Eyrie and to the north to see if what allies they can get there. And she sends her second born son, Lucerys, over to Lord Baratheon's house, which is very close to um, which is very close to Dragonstone. All of this hate and all of this tension comes to a culmination at Lord Baratheon's house. Lucerys walks in to ask if Lord Baratheon will still keep the oath of his house, and lo and behold, Aemond has beat him to the punch. And Lord Baratheon tells Lucerys that he's going to back Aegon because, Aegon has offered him more. Not because Aegon's a better person or would be a better ruler, but, Aegon offered him a better deal. And when he went to go leave, Aemon stopped him and said, no, you can't leave because, we have a score to settle. And you took my eye out when I was a child. And now I want your eye, an eye for an eye. This leads into an altercation, and Lord Baratheon wasn't having it. He was like, this is not going to happen. And, no princelings are going to die in my hall. So he tells them to get the heck out of his house. And he has his guards escort Lucerys to his dragon, and Lucerys takes off on his dragon. Lucerys looks terrified that, Daemon is going to follow him. At this point, Daemon is, older and, he's full grown. And Lucerys is still like, I don't know, 10 years older, like maybe 12 or 13 years old. Also, his dragon, Erox, is also young. It hatched when he was born and is growing with him. Whereas Aemon's dragon is much, much, much older and larger. Well, yes, Aemon wasn't going to give up on that. So he did follow Lucerys with his dragons, and things got out of hand. And, well, his huge dragon, what's his name? Vhagar, his huge dragon Vhagar, got a hold of Erox and basically, bit Erox in half with Lucerys on the dragon. So the final scene of season 1 is Rhaenyra getting the news of her son Lucerys' death by Aemon's hand. And you can just see by the look on her face that she has made her decision, cannot stand, that this killing could not be, that this killing will not go unpunished, and that she has now made up her mind that she will fight to be the queen, she will fight to stay the queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Thank you for watching, and for more reviews on season 2.